like holding a feature in your hand, potentially hundreds of new trees dispersing from one individual catkin.
We're returning what is effectively almost a lost habitat.
By seeing these seedlings kind of planted around the site, it's almost like creating little windows into the future. So my name's Ellie de and I'm the Monitoring Officer for Cairngorms Connect. Today we've come out to visit some of the downy willows that were planted over the last 3 years to see how they've been surviving out in the Loch A'an basin. Oh, I absolutely love it here. Yeah, Loch A'an is such a special place, and if anything, it can be a bit chilly on a day like today, but it just adds so much more kind of atmosphere, kind of seeing almost the landscape changing kind of before your very eyes, and that's essentially what's happening right here. Is it's a landscape under transition. So yeah, it's kind of really special being out on a day like today. Got some hair poo, so potentially be nibbling some of the willows. Essentially it's an indicator of browsers being within the area, so it helps us to understand the browsing pressure that the willows are finding. So as part of monitoring, we're looking at dung within a metre around the willows, so that we can kind of get an idea of what browser species might be about, and yeah, if they're munching on the willows. You know, it's all part of the job. These plants were carried out by volunteers across 3 willow walks, so over the last 3 years we've had about 50 people coming out to carry these willows up across over the top of the mountains and down into the basin, which is about 1,000 metres of ascent and descent, so it's quite a trek to get in here. So we're heading up this gully just behind us, just to this darker patch of green and the crags just beyond. So you would expect to be finding trees up here, but they've also been restricted up to kind of these rocky ledges historically, just because of the way that the land's been managed. The pressure by kind of browsing animals has meant that that's the only places that these trees are kind of persisting, because these are the places where these animals haven't been able to access them. So we would expect to be seeing them much more widely, but this is just where they've been clinging on. Ooh! Oh, it's got catkins! Wow! So here we've got a female plant that has 4 catkins. Catkins essentially produce seeds, and by producing seeds that will help kind of ensure the future of the willow population. It's almost like holding a feature in your hand, potentially hundreds of new trees dispersing from one individual catkin, which not all of them will necessarily take, but some of them will, and yeah, it's extremely exciting. Got another really healthy looking female here, which has 13 catkins.
What's your record?
This is probably about the record actually. I think,
13
yeah,
yesterday.
13 yesterday, and last year I don't think we saw more than 10, so it's, yeah, it's good going. Yeah, there should be a cane that's marking the centre of the foot. Woohoo! I feel really encouraged by what we've seen today. It's been amazing seeing how so many of the individuals are already putting on catkins. Some of the willows that went in 2021 have put on a reasonable amount of growth. So it's really encouraging seeing yeah, kind of how these original willows have first survived.
They're actually on their way out, partly due to history of overgrazing, but also they're not close enough to breed with each other. So what we're doing is trying to put more plants closer to each other so they can breed successfully and produce seed. We're returning what is effectively almost a lost habitat. So in Scotland there is basically a lost habitat called montane woodland or mountain woodland, and in other parts of the world like Scandinavia there's lots of this habitat there. And we effectively don't have it here anymore. It's gone, it's been denuded from the landscape. And these little remnants of Arctic willows are just showing us that there is fragments of it here, and it should be far more widespread in this whole system you can see behind us. There should be a lot more trees here, not just the montane willows, but birches, rowans, juniper, all mixed together in this scrubby woodland. And it's a habitat that will be amazingly important for lots of different species, but lots of species that would probably be here in far more abundance, having this bigger, diverse habitat.
It's a landscape that was always very close to my heart before getting involved with the montane willow work, and even more so seeing these seeds of change starting to kind of emerge across the landscape as well. It's a really hopeful thing to be planting trees that we'll never see into kind of like their own maturity and like their children's maturity, but by seeing these seedlings kind of planted around the site, it's almost like creating little windows into the future of how the landscape could change and evolve, and yeah, how it might appear in 200 years' time. So it's really hopeful.